Your body has been carrying messages long before your mouth ever spoke them. Every moment of exhaustion, pain, weakness, and silence may be revealing something deeper. Sometimes the warning is not punishment, it is direction. What you ignore today may be the very thing meant to awaken you tomorrow. This message is about hearing what your body has been trying to tell you all along. There are moments when people try to stay strong on the outside, while everything inside is carrying pressure that no one else can see. They smile in front of others, continue their routines, keep moving, keep working, and keep saying they are fine, yet their heart is holding fear, disappointment, grief, anxiety, or silent battles. The mind may hide it, words may avoid it, but the body often begins to speak what the heart refuses to release. Your body was never created to carry endless emotional weight without response. When emotions remain locked away, they do not simply disappear, they settle into daily life. They move into your sleep, your energy, your posture, your appetite, your focus, and even the way you breathe. A person can appear strong while slowly becoming exhausted inside. Many people think physical weakness always begins in the body, but sometimes it begins in silence. A heart filled with worry may create restless nights. Unspoken pain may become constant tension. Carrying disappointment for too long can make even simple tasks feel heavier than before. The body starts reflecting what the soul has been carrying. You may have ignored your own needs because you believed everyone else had to come first. You kept giving, helping, supporting, and showing up for others while quietly neglecting yourself. You convinced yourself that resting could wait, healing could wait, and your emotions could wait. But the body remembers every moment you pushed beyond your limits. There are people who have spent months asking why they feel drained when they have done nothing physically difficult. The answer is sometimes hidden beneath emotional weight. Carrying fear every day is heavy. Living with constant pressure is heavy. Holding anger, regret, or hidden sadness is heavy. Even when the world cannot see it, your body feels it. Your body speaks through signals. It speaks through tired eyes after nights filled with overthinking. It speaks through the tension you carry in your shoulders. It speaks through the moments when motivation disappears and everything feels harder than it used to. These are not always signs of weakness. Sometimes they are messages asking for attention. You were never meant to live in survival mode forever. You were not created to carry every burden alone while pretending nothing affects you. The heart needs honesty. It needs release. It needs space to breathe. Ignoring emotions may look like strength for a season, but eventually the hidden weight begins asking to be noticed. Some people keep waiting for life to slow down before they take care of themselves. They say they will rest later, heal later, deal with emotions later. Yet later keeps moving further away while the pressure grows. The body continues speaking because it wants what the heart has avoided. Maybe the stress you feel is not coming from today alone. Maybe it comes from old wounds that were covered but never healed. Maybe it comes from years of carrying responsibilities without asking for help. Maybe it comes from disappointment that was buried instead of faced. The body often becomes the place where hidden emotions leave their footprints. There is power in recognizing what you have been carrying. There is strength in admitting that pain exists. Listening to your body does not mean giving up. It means paying attention. It means understanding that every ache, every moment of exhaustion, every silent struggle may be revealing something deeper that deserves care, honesty, and attention, because exhaustion is not always the result of doing too much with your hands. Sometimes it comes from carrying too much in your mind, your heart, and your spirit. There are people who sleep for hours and still wake up tired. They rest physically, yet something inside them remains heavy. They wonder why their energy never fully returns, why motivation feels distant, and why even simple responsibilities seem harder than before. Exhaustion has a way of speaking quietly at first. It may appear as a lack of focus. It may show up through constant procrastination, emotional numbness, or the feeling that everything requires more effort than it once did. Many people ignore these moments because they believe they only need to push harder. They tell themselves that strength means continuing no matter what. But endless pressure without restoration can slowly empty a person. There is a difference between being busy and being drained. A busy person may feel tired and recover after rest. A drained person may rest and still feel empty. That kind of exhaustion often points toward something deeper. It may be emotional overload. It may be spiritual weariness. It may be the result of carrying responsibilities without relief, expectations without support, or battles without sharing them with anyone. Some people have become so familiar with exhaustion that they no longer question it. They call it normal. They wake up tired, move through the day tired, and end the night tired. They believe this is simply how life works now. Yet the body keeps speaking because it knows something is missing. Your body was not designed for endless pressure. It was not created to run without pause, to produce without recovery, or to give without receiving renewal. Even the strongest people need restoration. Even those who inspire others need moments where they are allowed to breathe. There are seasons when life demands more from you. Responsibilities increase, challenges arrive unexpectedly, goals become larger. But if every season becomes a season of pressure, eventually exhaustion begins turning into a message. It starts asking questions. What have you ignored? What have you postponed? What part of yourself have you abandoned while trying to keep everything else together? Many people keep moving because stopping feels uncomfortable. Silence makes them face emotions they have avoided. Rest forces reflection. Stillness reveals truths they have buried beneath activity. So they stay busy, hoping movement will silence what they feel. Yet exhaustion continues because the issue was never movement. The issue was what remained unresolved underneath it. You may have been carrying dreams that have not happened yet. You may have been holding disappointment from doors that never opened. You may have spent years trying to prove your value, fighting unseen battles, and pushing yourself beyond healthy limits. The body feels every one of those moments. Sometimes exhaustion is not asking you to quit. It is asking you to realign. It is reminding you that strength without balance becomes weakness over time. It is showing you that effort alone cannot replace restoration. You can work hard and still need rest. You can be committed and still need recovery. You can be strong and still admit you are tired. There is wisdom in recognizing that fatigue is not always laziness and not always lack of discipline. Sometimes it is the body raising its voice after being ignored for too long. Sometimes it is the signal that your inner world needs attention just as much as your outer responsibilities. The tiredness you feel may be carrying a message deeper than physical weakness. It may be revealing that something inside you has been running on empty for far longer than you realized, and that emptiness keeps speaking through the language of exhaustion while waiting to be heard through honesty, awareness, and change. And when those messages remain unheard, the body often finds another way to speak. What begins as a small signal can slowly become louder. What starts as a quiet warning may return again and again until attention is finally given. This is why ignoring what you feel does not make it disappear. It often makes it stronger. Many people dismiss the first signs because they seem too small to matter. A little exhaustion, a little tension, a little loss of focus, a few sleepless nights, moments of unexplained frustration, a lack of motivation. They say it will pass. They promise themselves they will deal with it later. But later becomes weeks, weeks become months, and the same message continues waiting. Life has a way of repeating lessons that have not been learned. The body can do the same. It keeps reminding, keeps signaling, keeps speaking because it is trying to protect you from carrying more than you should. It is not working against you. It is trying to get your attention. Think about how often people ignore their limits. They continue giving energy they no longer have. They continue saying yes when they are already overwhelmed. They continue pushing through pain because stopping feels like failure. But every ignored limit creates pressure, and pressure eventually demands recognition. The difficult part is that warnings rarely arrive dramatically in the beginning. They come quietly. They hide inside ordinary moments. You feel less joy in things that once excited you. Your patience becomes shorter. Small tasks feel heavier. Rest stops feeling refreshing. You begin surviving the day instead of living it. These signs are easy to overlook because they do not always appear as major problems. Yet they carry meaning. They ask important questions. What are you avoiding? What truth have you been pushing aside? What burden have you convinced yourself you must carry forever? Ignoring emotional weight often creates deeper distance between who you are and how you live. You keep moving while something inside asks for care. You keep performing while another part of you asks for honesty. You keep building the outside while the inside was. It's for attention. There are people who have spent years silencing themselves. They ignored disappointment because they thought it was weakness. They buried grief because they believed time alone would fix it. They hid fear because they wanted to appear strong. But hidden emotions do not disappear simply because they are unseen. What is ignored has a way of returning. The lesson repeats. The pressure increases. The silence grows heavier. Not because life wants to punish you, but because unresolved things often ask to be faced. Your body can become the messenger of what your mind keeps postponing. It may speak through tension. It may speak through restlessness. It may speak through the feeling that something is not right even when everything looks fine from the outside. This is why paying attention matters. Not every signal means danger, but every signal deserves awareness. The earlier you listen, the softer the message may remain. The longer you ignore it, the louder it often becomes. Ease. You do not need to wait until complete exhaustion arrives. You do not need to reach the point where everything feels broken before you respond. Sometimes wisdom begins with noticing small changes and respecting them before they become larger battles. The truth is that your body has likely been speaking for a long time. Through fatigue, tension, emotions, and quiet moments of discomfort, it has continued sending messages. And if those messages remain unheard, they rarely stay quiet forever, because what you ignore today may return tomorrow with a stronger voice, asking again for the attention it never received. And when those warnings finally reach your attention, another truth begins to appear. Your body is not asking for endless effort. It is asking for balance. Many people believe success comes only through constant movement, constant sacrifice, and constant pressure. They convince themselves that stopping means falling behind. They fear rest because they think it will weaken the but a person who never pauses eventually begins losing the strength they are trying so hard to protect. There is a difference between dedication and destruction. Dedication builds. Destruction happens when you keep taking from yourself without giving anything back. You continue moving while your energy disappears. You continue producing while your mind grows heavier. You keep demanding more from yourself while offering less care in return. Your purpose may be important, your goals may be meaningful, and your responsibilities may be real, but none of them remove the need for restoration. Even the strongest structures require maintenance. Even the greatest journeys include moments of stopping. Rest is not the enemy of progress. It is often what allows progress to continue. Many people live as though they must earn rest. They tell themselves they will slow down after achieving more, after fixing everything, after helping everyone else, after reaching the next level. But the finish line, keeps moving. There is always another task, another expectation, another responsibility waiting. Meanwhile, the body keeps asking for what it needs. It asks through tired eyes that struggle to stay open. It asks through the loss of joy in daily life. It asks through emotional heaviness that grows without explanation. It asks through the quiet feeling that something inside needs space. Rest is more than sleep. Sleep can restore the body, but rest reaches deeper places. Sometimes rest means stepping away from pressure. Sometimes it means allowing silence instead of constant noise. Sometimes it means releasing expectations that were never yours to carry. There are people who stay busy because slowing down feels uncomfortable. When everything becomes quiet, hidden emotions begin rising. Thoughts that were avoided become clear. Questions that were ignored return. So they choose movement instead of reflection. They fill every moment because stillness feels unfamiliar. Yet stillness, often reveals what endless activity hides. Your body knows the difference between meaningful effort and relentless pressure. It recognizes when you are building with purpose and when you are simply surviving. It feels the difference between passion and burnout. That is why rest should never be treated like weakness. Think about nature for a moment. Seasons change. Day becomes night. Even the earth follows rhythms of activity and recovery. Nothing healthy grows through non-stop force. Growth requires cycles. Expansion needs restoration. Strength needs renewal. You were never meant to carry every burden without pause. You were never created to give endlessly while ignoring your own needs. The world may praise constant work, but your body often asks for wisdom instead of speed. Some of the people who appear strongest are actually the most exhausted because they never learned how to stop. They became experts at pushing forward, but strangers to recovery. They mastered effort while forgetting in restoration. Real strength is not proven by how much pain you can hide. It is shown by how honestly you respond when your body asks for care. It is found in recognizing limits before they become breaking points. It is choosing renewal before complete emptiness arrives. Because purpose without rest eventually becomes pressure, and pressure without recovery slowly turns strength into weariness, while the body continues, asking for the pause that the soul has needed all along. And when that weariness stays too long, pain often enters the conversation. Pain has a way of changing everything. It interrupts routines, slows movement, and forces attention toward places that were once ignored. Most people immediately see pain as an enemy. They want it gone, silenced, removed as quickly as possible. Yet sometimes pain arrives carrying a question instead of a punishment. What if the discomfort you feel is not only about suffering? What if it is pointing towards something that needs to change? Pain has many forms. Some pain lives in the body, some lives in memories. Some hides inside disappointment, rejection, regret, or years of carrying burdens without release. Not all pain looks the same, but much of it carries the same message. Something needs attention. Many people spend years adapting to discomfort instead of understanding it. They become used to living tired, stressed, overwhelmed, and emotionally heavy. They stop asking why because the feeling becomes familiar. But familiarity does not mean something is healthy. Sometimes it only means it has been present for too long. Pain can reveal areas where you have been overextending yourself. It can expose habits that slowly drained your strength. It can uncover relationships that continuously took more than they gave. It can shine light on patterns you repeated because they felt normal. There are moments when life keeps moving while something inside quietly breaks. You continue showing up. You continue smiling. You continue handling responsibilities. Yet beneath the surface, frustration grows, disappointment settles deeper, and hidden wounds wait in silence. The body often notices before the mind is ready to admit it. You may feel tension without understanding why. You may feel heaviness even when everything appears fine from the outside. You may feel discomfort that cannot be explained only by physical effort. Sometimes pain becomes the language of deeper truths. Maybe you have been carrying expectations that were never yours. Maybe you have spent years trying to become everything for everyone. Maybe you ignored your own limits because you believed love meant endless sacrifice. Maybe you stayed in situations that slowly took pieces of your peace. Pain does not always appear because you failed. Sometimes it appears because you stayed too long in places that were hurting you. There are people who keep asking for strength while avoiding change. They want relief but refuse reflection. They hope circuit. Misstances improve while repeating the same patterns that created the exhaustion. Yet healing often begins when honesty enters the room. Change can be uncomfortable because it asks you to release familiar things, familiar pressure, familiar habits, familiar fears. Even unhealthy patterns can feel safe when they have existed for years. But pain sometimes pushes people toward the changes they would never choose on their own. It forces questions. What needs to end? What needs to heal? What have you tolerated for too long? What part of yourself has been waiting for freedom? Pain may not always provide immediate answers, but it often points toward the direction where answers exist. The goal is not to glorify suffering or pretend every difficulty carries hidden meaning. Pain is real. Struggles are real. But there are moments when discomfort becomes a signal that something deeper is asking to be seen. Your body may be revealing that your pace needs adjustment. Your heart may be asking for release. Your spirit may be calling for restoration. Your life may be inviting change that fear kept delaying. And sometimes the greatest transformation begins at the exact place where pain stopped being ignored and started becoming a message that could no longer remain unheard. And once that message is finally heard, another truth begins to rise. The way you treat your body often reflects the way you see yourself. Not the image you show others, not the words you speak in public, but the quiet beliefs you carry when nobody is watching. Many people say they value themselves, yet their daily habits tell a different story. They ignore rest. They dismiss their own needs. They push past exhaustion. They speak harshly to themselves. They expect perfection and punish every mistake. Little by little, they begin treating themselves as though they only deserve care after achievement. But your value was never supposed to be earned through endless effort. The way you care for your body reveals as what you believe about your worth. When you constantly ignore your limits, you may be sending yourself the message that your needs do not matter. When you keep sacrificing your peace for everyone else, you may slowly begin believing that your well-being should always come last. This does not happen in one moment. It happens quietly, through repeated choices, through habits that become normal, through years of putting yourself at the bottom of every list. Some people only allow themselves kindness after success. They rest only when they are completely exhausted. They celebrate only after reaching impossible standards. They speak to themselves with a level of criticism they would never use toward anyone else. Yet the body remembers those messages. It remembers the nights you stayed awake, carrying pressure alone. It remembers the times you ignored hunger, ignored fatigue, ignored emotions, and continued moving because stopping felt undeserved. It remembers every moment you demand strength while refusing compassion. There is a hidden cost to living this way. You may achieve more while feeling less alive. You may appear successful while feeling disconnected inside. You may gain recognition yet lose peace. Your body was not created to become a machine for performance. It was not designed only to produce, achieve, and endure. It was created to be cared for, respected, and protected. Think about your daily patterns. Do they reflect care or constant pressure? Do they create healing or increase emptiness? Are your habits building strength, or are they slowly taking it away? Sometimes the issue is not lack of discipline. Sometimes it is lack of value. People who secretly feel unworthy often neglect themselves without realizing it. They believe everyone else deserves attention first. They give their energy away until nothing remains. Then one day they wonder why they feel empty. The answer is often hidden in the small moments. The meals skipped because work fell, tea more important. The sleep sacrificed for endless responsibilities. The emotions buried because vulnerability felt dangerous. The silence kept because asking for help seemed impossible. All these moments create a story. A story about what you believe you deserve. But care is not weakness. Rest is not failure. Protecting your peace is not selfish. Listening to your body is not laziness. Your habits become evidence of your beliefs. The way you move through life becomes a reflection of the value you place on yourself. If you treat your body as something that only matters after success, it will keep carrying the weight of that belief. If you treat yourself as someone who must constantly prove worth, exhaustion will continue returning. Real change begins when care becomes intentional, when respect replaces neglect, when awareness replaces avoidance, when you stop seeing your body as a tool to use and begin seeing it as something entrusted to you. Because every choice you make is cue. Usually answering one question again and again. How much value do you believe you truly have? And what story are your daily actions telling in response to that belief, while your body continues listening to every one of them, and while your body keeps listening, the future is quietly being shaped by the choices you make today. Every moment of awareness, every decision to pay attention, every act of care becomes part of a direction. The life ahead is not built only by major events. It is often formed by the small things repeated daily. Many people wait for a breaking point before they change. They wait until exhaustion becomes unbearable. They wait until stress grows louder. They wait until the warning can no longer be ignored. But wisdom does not always arrive through crisis. Sometimes it begins with noticing what has been speaking softly all along. Your body has likely been sending messages for a long time. Through tiredness, through tension, through emotional heaviness. When your energy disappeared without explanation. None of those moments were meaningless. They were invitations to pay attention. The problem is that people often believe change must be dramatic. They think transformation starts with huge decisions, major sacrifices, and instant results. Yet many lasting changes begin quietly. One extra hour of rest, one honest conversation, one moment of reflection, one boundary finally respected, one burden finally released. Small actions may appear insignificant, but repeated over time they begin changing everything. Imagine continuing to ignore every signal. Imagine moving forward without reflection, repeating the same habits, carrying the same pressures, dismissing the same needs. The future created by that path will likely carry the same exhaustion. Now imagine something different. Imagine choosing awareness. Imagine listening when your body asks for rest. Imagine responding when your heart asks for honesty. Imagine making space for our healing before pain becomes overwhelming. The direction begins changing. There are people who spend years hoping life will improve while refusing to change the patterns creating their struggle. They pray for peace while protecting chaos. They ask for strength while ignoring recovery. They desire healing while remaining attached to the habits that cause the wounds. Awareness changes that. Awareness creates responsibility. Once you recognize the message, you cannot pretend it was never there. Once you see the pattern, you cannot unknow it. Once you hear what your body has been saying, a decision appears. Will you continue ignoring it, or will you respond? The answer to that question matters more than many realize, because your body is not only speaking about today, it may be revealing what tomorrow could become. The exhaustion you address now may prevent deeper emptiness later. The stress you face now may protect future peace. The habit you change now may reshape years ahead. The truth is simple but powerful. Listening today creates possibilities tomorrow. You do not need perfection. You do not need instant transformation. You do not need every answer before taking a step. You only need willingness. Willingness to notice. Willingness to reflect. Willingness to respond. Your body has carried you through every victory, every struggle, every hidden battle, and every season no one else understood. It has remained present even when you ignored its signals. It has continued speaking even when you chose silence. Now the message stands before you. Pay attention. Listen carefully. Do not wait for louder warnings. Do not wait for complete exhaustion. Do not wait until the cost becomes greater than the change. Because the future is already being written through the choices of this moment. And what you choose to hear today may become the reason your tomorrow looks completely different, while your body finally feels seen, respected, and understood on. See again.